Have you ever heard of Piriformis syndrome? If you're somebody who suffers from back pain, then chances are you've probably come across the word Piriformis syndrome. So there's a lot of misconceptions about this disorder, and that's why I wanted to make this video so that I can actually tell you what it is, what it isn't, and how it's actually treated. My name is Dr. Sater. I am a pain doctor and a neurologist in Connecticut and New York. So first of all, before we talk about piriformis syndrome, it's important to know what the piriformis muscle is. So the piriformis muscle is a tiny muscle that looks almost like a fish, and basically it connects the sacral spine to the hip. So you can imagine it essentially going in that direction, right? And so it's involved obviously in the movement of the hip joint because it connects the hip to the sacral spine. Okay, so now when do we actually suspect piriformis syndrome and how does it present? Piriformis syndrome can basically mimic back pain and sciatica. So pain that is usually coming from, let's say, a disc herniation. If you have a disc herniation compressing a nerve root and the pain is going to be shooting all the way down the leg, that kind of pain can actually be mimicked by piriformis syndrome, except that the problem in that case is happening much further down and not really in the spine itself, but in the buttock region and the piriformis muscle that's connecting the sacral spine to your trochanter. And the important thing to keep in mind is that the sciatic nerve runs right below, most often below that piriformis muscle. Now, for some people, depending on their anatomy, it actually might run in the middle of that muscle, so it might actually pierce it. But most often, for most people, it's going to be below the piriformis muscle. That location is very important because even though it's a tiny muscle, it can have a huge effect in terms of pain because it's sitting right on top of the sciatic nerve. And so that's why it can potentially lead to pain, not only in the buttock, but also pain radiating or referring down to the leg. And that's why it can also mimic disorders like radiculopathies. Now, what are the risk factors for this? For some people, it might just be anatomy or trauma or hypertrophy of the muscle caused by repetitive use of the muscle. So for example, people who run a lot, who do a lot of lunges are potentially at a higher risk getting hypertrophy in that muscle and therefore piriformis syndrome. So how do we diagnose it? It's really more of a clinical diagnosis and it's a diagnosis of exclusion. So there's really no MRI or study that will show us that you have piriformis syndrome. A lot of times we'd have to get an MRI of your lumbar spine and rule out that it's coming from a disc herniation. And other times we have to do injections to diagnose the condition. However, the history helps and the physical exam helps too. So when it comes to history, right, if your pain gets worse when you are sitting for a long period of time, and because you're putting pressure obviously on that piriformis muscle, that potentially is one of the symptoms we look for. When we are examining you and then we press on that muscle and we find that it also is aggravated and it's tender to palpation, that is another sign. Now, another thing that I see very commonly with piriformis syndrome is actually trochanteric bursitis. So that's essentially inflammation around right outside the greater trochanter. And the reason why that happens is because of the connection. Like I mentioned earlier, the piriformis is connecting the sacral spine to the greater trochanter. So a lot of times there will be a bursitis that might happen because of that connection. And you might need to address both to be able to get rid of the problem permanently. Now, when it comes to diagnosis, unfortunately, there's really no MRI or EMG that is going to diagnose it. Very rarely on nerve conduction studies, we might find that there is a sciatic neuropathy at the level of the piriformis, but that's only in very severe cases if there's damage to the sciatic nerve that's being caused by that chronic compression from the piriformis muscle. But more often than not, it's going to be a clinical diagnosis. Now, how do we treat it? So treatment of this condition is going to be initially conservative. So physical therapy, massages, stretches. You have also medical treatment with muscle relaxants that can help sometimes and NSAIDs. However, what I find helps the most is actually a trigger point injection in that muscle. So basically going in with a needle to that spot where the muscle is, either under ultrasound guidance or under X-ray guidance. That is best because that way we can actually highlight the muscle with contrast dye, or we can see it on ultrasound and we can be sure that we're injecting the right muscle. But a lot of times you're going to know that too because you're going to feel a spasm in the muscle and a twitch when we actually go in with the needle and we release the tension of the muscle. So when you break the knot inside the piriformis, there's going to be a twitch and you're going to feel it. So these are some of the common things that we do. So trigger point injections can help. For more refractory cases, there have been case reports of using Botox injections inside the muscle or even surgery. But that's really for, kind of last resort and is often not necessary.